On the night of the 24th of August 2016, the coastal city of Sanya, located at the southern tip of Hainan Island, faced a severe challenge in the form of Typhoon Kajiki, also known as Jianyu, in China. Although it did not make direct landfall, the storm's outer circulation still swept through the city with terrifying force, 14 winds, up to 45 meters per second. The wind was so strong that it shook tall buildings, causing glass windows to shake and balcony doors to warp, and people in the apartments to be in fear. Many families were forced to tape their windows to prevent shattering. Outside, howling winds snapped trees, ripped billboards, and crushed cars, turning once bustling streets into scenes of devastation. At Sanya port, huge waves tossed anchored ships. Water rushed over the wharf, while more than 800 offshore workers were urgently evacuated. Subscribe to the channel today to share the warning message. Stay home during a storm. Don't go out unless it's necessary. Before the storm arrived, Hainan authorities declared a Level 1 emergency and organized the evacuation of more than 20,000 residents in coastal villages, low-lying residential areas and fishing communities to schools, gymnasiums and temporary shelters. There, people are provided with drinking water, instant noodles, and basic medical care, with special priority given to the elderly and children. The city's infrastructure suffered. Thousands of households lost power, and many neighborhoods were left in the dark. Communications networks were disrupted, but emergency services remained operational thanks to backup systems. Transport was almost paralyzed. Sanya International Airport canceled all flights. Trains and long-distance buses were suspended, and highways were blocked by flooding and fallen trees. Tourism, Hainan's mainstay, was forced to come to a standstill as beaches and tourist attractions were closed. Heavy rains have made matters worse. In 24 hours, many areas have recorded more than 250 millimeters of rain, causing severe flooding in low-lying areas and underpasses. City workers have been using pumps to remove water, placing sandbags in front of shops and buildings, and checking embankments for the risk of flash floods and landslides. Throughout the storm night, rescue teams, police, medical, and environmental sanitation workers worked non-stop. Emergency hotlines are available, while social media is flooded with warnings and images of the situation. By the next morning, as Typhoon Kajiki moved toward Vietnam, Sanya gradually stabilized. The wind had lessened, but the sky remained overcast and heavy rain continued. Kajiki's aftermath was a stark reminder. Even without making landfall, it was powerful enough to destroy infrastructure, paralyze transportation, cause widespread power outages, and force tens of thousands of people to evacuate. More importantly, The storm highlighted the fragility and vulnerability of coastal cities to increasingly severe weather events. Zhuhai was plunged into darkness. A huge black cloud swept across the city. The wind howled, the rain lashed, and trees fell. The storm had arrived, more furious and fierce than ever. The 2025 flood is considered an unprecedented disaster in China's modern history. From seemingly normal torrential rains, in just a few days, it turned into terrible floods. Homes disappeared under the water, roads were washed away, and millions of people were left destitute. Let us look back at this terrible disaster. In late July 2025, the skies over southern and eastern China turned gray. Comment number 1, if you truly admire his calmness in the midst of the storm. In 72 hours, some provinces, such as Guangdong, Fujian, and Hainan received record rainfall of over 600 millimeters, more than the average rainfall for the entire season. Rivers rose, reservoirs were overloaded, creating raging floods. In Guangzhou, streets turned into rivers in a matter of hours. Cars were swept away like toys. In Hainan, waves combined with floods washed away sections of coastal roads, leaving huge craters. Residents described the sound of wind, rain, and water hitting houses as 1,000 drums beating at once. In just 3 days, more than 2 million people was forced to evacuate urgently. At least 250 people died. Hundreds of others are missing. Tens of thousands of homes were completely destroyed, and those that remained were flooded with mud up to a meter deep. Transport infrastructure was devastated. More than 120 bridges and 300 kilometers of roads were swept away, and sections of national highways disappeared under raging rivers. In rural areas, crops, rice paddies, and livestock were washed away, threatening the livelihoods of millions of farmers. But the tragedy is not just in the numbers. It is evident in the dismayed eyes of families who lost their homes, in the heartbreaking cries of children lost to their parents in the flood. Subscribe to the channel if you also feel this action is worth sharing with everyone. In the face of the disaster, tens of thousands of rescuers, police and volunteers rushed into the danger zone. They waded through raging waters, broke down doors of deeply inundated homes to pull out the elderly and children. Many were exhausted and soaked, but they continued to work day and night. The 2025 typhoon left deep scars on China, but also served as a reminder. Nature is becoming more extreme and unpredictable. Preparation, vigilance, and unity are what we need to survive. What do you think about the destructive power of this storm? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated with hot stories about nature and human resilience. It all starts on the afternoon of the 25th of August, 2025. Southern China was shaken by a powerful typhoon that suddenly hit. The sky darkened, the wind howled, and the rain poured down in torrents. People wondered, was this the worst ordeal in decades? In just a few hours, winds increased from 100 kilometers per hour to more than 200 kilometers per hour, knocking down trees, flipping cars, and blowing roofs off houses. In Guangzhou and Shenzhen, glass from high-rise buildings shattered and debris rained down on the streets. The scene was chaotic, like a battlefield. But it didn't stop there. The storm brought more than just wind. Rain poured down on the streets and flooded homes. Water rose quickly, turning basements and subway stations into seas. Subscribe to the channel if you also believe that staying indoors is safest during stormy weather. The impact of Typhoon No. 5 caused the Chinese government to immediately declare a state of emergency. Tens of thousands of people were evacuated from low-lying areas. Motorboats, helicopters, and hundreds of emergency rescue teams rushed into the storm to save people. Schools, gymnasiums, community centers turned into temporary shelters. However, infrastructure was severely damaged. Power was cut off across large areas as electric poles fell. Transport was paralyzed, airports were closed, trains were stopped, and roads were flooded. Engineers and rescue workers are working around the clock to restore essential services. No storm lasts forever, nor can any difficulty stop a determined step. Leave 0 if you agree with the above point of view. The consequences are widespread, not just in people's lives but also in the economy. Factories have closed, supply chains have been disrupted, and farmland has been flooded. People fear losing their crops and their livelihoods. Recovery will require huge resources and months. Even after the storm dissipates, heavy rains continue, increasing the risk of flash floods and landslides. Authorities warn that the situation remains complex and ask people to remain vigilant. For millions of people, this is more than just a memory of a storm. It is also a reminder of human fragility in the face of nature's fierce power. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only, based on verified information. The content is intended to recount and analyze natural disasters, not to create panic or spread misinformation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe to channel and turn on notifications to continue accompanying us on hot stories about nature and human resilience.